The cloud. Hello, everyone. Juxtaposition here. Welcome to tonight's show. It's very exciting. We have Jennifer Small, formerly of the UPI, and she is going to be interviewing me concerning the gentleman behind my shoulder here. This is William Egan Colby, and he was the director of CIA. They refer to that as DCI, Director of Central Intelligence, from September 4th, 1973 through January 30th, 1976, when he resigned. And there was a lot of historical events that occurred during the 2 years that William Colby was the director of CIA. Let me turn it over to our world-class interviewer. And the reason I accepted her request to interview me was because she declined a luncheon at Catherine Graham's home in Georgetown. And Jennifer said she's just too busy and she had other plans and she couldn't make it. Otherwise, it could be that Jennifer will be on this story on a different angle. All right, Jennifer, how are you today?
Well, I'm great. I should say that when I told Mrs. Graham that I couldn't join her for lunch, I never heard from her again. I didn't.
Yeah, one and done.
Chance. There was no second bite of the apple.
At Ben Bradley's house with Sally Quinn and Joan Didion, did you not?
No, I saw her at her house. I did go to a party at her house.
Okay,
and I went to a separate party. One of each, one of the Bradleys and one of the Catherine Graham. So I was
they all live in the same
very close to each other.
Yeah.
I was one of many people, so that I did have that experience.
Well, what is your interest in this story today?
Well, I'm interested in interviewing you because you are a world-class auditor, a world-class CPA, and I'm calling you the expert on all things concealed. And I would like to tap your brains because of your knowledge of the Gladio kill and how the murder of William Colby has all the hallmarks of the Gladio kill. And I think if we could understand the operation that led to his demise, it will become a template for understanding so many murders that go across all professional spheres. I mean, I don't think people realize that all this goes on, but it does. So my first question, though, is I'd like to compare and contrast the official story with what really happened. I like to say there's what happened and there's what really happened. And so the official story is that William Colby went out canoeing one night and he had some sort of cardiovascular event. He fell over and drowned in the water.
Right.
And that's happened, and it's just too bad. And he was 76 years old. These things happen. So my first question to you is kind of a softball, which is why do you not accept the official story? Why what evidence, forget the Gladio kill, what about the official story doesn't ring true for you?
Well, it's not supported by the facts of the case. The facts and circumstances do not support drowning. They don't support canoeing in pitch darkness, which I don't think anybody canoes in pitch darkness anywhere in the world. But least of all, a man who just spent 6.5 hours working on a sailboat during the day and is halfway through his dinner. In other words, he hasn't finished his meal. And you know he's hungry. He's hungry because he didn't have lunch. He's been working 6.5 hours straight on a Saturday at the marina. Okay, it's called the Port Side Marina on Cobb Island, which is 60 miles south of where he lives. He lives in Georgetown, near Sally Quinn and Ben Bradley, near Catherine Graham. He's walking distance from both of those people. He can walk to their homes. And he's 60 miles south because he has a sailboat called the Eagle Wing 2, which is moored at the portside marina. It's 37-foot long sailboat. He's been working on it most of the day, 6.5 hours. He skipped lunch. He's home. It's after 7:15, 7:30 at night. Sundown, in case you're interested, is 7:57 is twilight. And everything is pitch dark from 8:30 to 8:35. It's pitch dark. And I just don't think it's plausible for a 76-year-old man who's been working, including replacing a rip sail, as well as scraping the barnacles off of the hull, and a lot of heavy lifting by himself alone at the yacht club, then getting groceries at the grocery store there on Cobb Island, coming home and steaming corn and 12 clams that he bought, that he would then decide halfway through his dinner with one glass of wine to just drop everything, walk out of his kitchen, and get the ladder out of his storage room, the storage locker on the side of the house, with his life vest at the side of the house, which he always wore when he went canoeing. He wore a life vest. And then go canoeing in pitch darkness, because it would have been at least 8:30 p.m. at the earliest that he could have gone canoeing. And it's pitch dark. So that doesn't make sense. Then you add in the other fact is that his canoe was discovered Sunday morning, 12 hours later. His canoe was found at about 9 a.m. in the morning, approximately a quarter of a mile from where his cabin, his cottage, 2-bedroom cottage. It's an oysterman's cottage, turn of the century. And not far around the corner, around a spit, around a little peninsula on a sandy beach. And I'll show you photographs of the area in a moment. That his canoe was discovered there by a 22-year-old Kevin Akers at about 9 a.m. with his wife and 2 children. And they spent 1 hour with their hands digging out all the sand and rocks that were in the green canoe to be able to tow the canoe. Presumably the canoe was missing, that perhaps because it was a windy night, that you're suggesting that Bill Colby is going to halfway through dinner, without doing it, without cleaning his dishes, without returning his bottle of wine to the refrigerator or putting a cork in it, and leaving his wallet on his breakfast table, and with all of his identification and cash, that he spontaneously decides to go canoeing in pitch darkness while it's windy with whitecaps, where you wouldn't do that during the daytime. But he's going to go do it in pitch darkness at night. And then the canoe is found by this young handyman and his wife, and they tow the canoe to the portside marina for lost and found. They also, just so you know, before they towed the canoe, they looked for the paddles. They assumed that whoever had that canoe used a paddle. You're not going to use your hands.
Right.
And life jacket. And they looked all over that shoreline for paddle and life jacket. They found neither. So they gave up on that and they towed the canoe, which is not far. It's about 1,000 yards away, less than a mile, to the marina at Cobb Island, which is across the Potomac River from his cabin, which is not too far, and left it there. And then that was that. Then on Monday morning, the news broke that the CI director, formerly a former CI director, had gone missing, and did anyone know where he was? And then when Kevin Akers saw that on the TV, he freaked out, and he thought, well, that canoe didn't just wash up. Somebody deliberately on purpose loaded it full of rocks and sand because they didn't want that canoe to float away. They wanted the canoe to be found. And then people could speculate where Bill Colby was. And the sheriff's department was the first to interview Kevin Akers. And they didn't include in their notes that he told them that it was full of sand and it took almost an hour with he and his wife together working to unload the canoe with all the debris from the beach. And they didn't find the life jacket and they didn't find a paddle. And he thought that was odd. But the sheriff didn't write down that thought that was suspicious. And then the media began to float cover stories of what happened, that since they found the canoe on that was allegedly discovered on Sunday morning, that obviously Bill Colby went canoeing and fell out of the canoe, and he must be floating around Chesapeake Bay or Neal Sound. And his body hasn't washed up yet. That was kind of the initial story, is he must have fallen out of the canoe, and he'll turn up in the next few days. But that's why I don't believe it. I don't believe that a CI director would not do his dishes, just only finish half his meal, not put a cork in the bottle, return the bottle of wine to the refrigerator. It was white wine, not refrigerate that, and to go canoeing in high wind, gusts of 30 knots and whitecaps in a canoe at night. I don't see that as a plausible explanation for a neat-nick, meticulous, organized man whose wallet is not on his dinner table. Remember, he has a small house. He's converted half of his deck into a solarium dining room. And his table was set where he was facing out at Cobb Island, looking at his sailboat and the Potomac River. There's a panoramic view from that deck. And that's where he was facing. And behind his back is the breakfast table and the kitchen. The breakfast room table and kitchen are to his back. And I believe that if you wanted to murder him, you'd come in from the bedroom area or the laundry room area, and you would go into the breakfast room, and then you would deal with Bill Colby while he has his back to you, and you would sneak up behind him and surprise him, and he would never have an opportunity to go canoeing. But that's what the story was. All right.
Yes, I mean, well, everything you say makes the official story just ridiculous on the face of it. And you're talking about his habits.
He was known to be a neatnik. Uh-oh. All right.